Welcome to Aligned Trading, going over today's SPY recap and live analysis. So first thing that I explained in the pre-market brief for Discord members was to be watching the blue and yellow controlled selling that we have seen for the last week, and if we wanted to continue, just allow that to work. So here in the morning, you can see that we had this initial move up. However, when it came time for the blue and yellow controlled selling right here, you see that we have this sell-off and we never get this inverse head and shoulder and continue pushing higher like that. Now I also explained to be watching for this head and shoulder right here in the morning, and you can see that we never came down and started grabbing this liquidity right here, trying to close this inverse cup. But what we did do is we had this head and shoulder right here, you can see, as well as this inverse cup and handle. So there were a couple moves down right there. So now we'll go over the 1 minute chart and the microstructure for what was going on here throughout the day. So now here on the 1 minute chart, going over the microstructure and trades. So here in the morning, we started moving higher immediately off the open with the blue and yellow controlled selling that you can see on the way up here. Now there is no pullback and the structure is thin right here. So I explained to be watching for this if we were to head down. You can see that we had one more push higher, but the same thing applies right here. And you can see this head and shoulder starting to form right here, as well as this inverse cup and handle, along with this white tapering algorithm right here. So you see this first move, once again, another cup and handle, and I explained to be looking for this handle right here, and you see it took a minute to drop, but you see after this chop we get once again that second move down. So if you were long here and you were scalping this on the way up, that is fine with these inverse head and shoulders right here, but once you see this starting to form right here, protect your position and be careful, because you can see that this is thin right here and there's liquidity to head down off of it. Now if you were to head up, you would want to have seen this yellow and blue right here form, right, this inverse head and shoulder, and then you could take it once again. So after this move down right here, I explained that if you want to look for this to continue moving back up, you need to see this, and from there we can try and form this cup and handle back to the high of day. Otherwise, be looking for, once again, this handle right here. Now this isn't much of a trade, but you can see this little head and shoulder in there, but it is very choppy. Now throughout the day, you will see that we are tapering with this blue, and the selling is unable to get aggressive, right? So we close this cup right here, and once it's time for that handle, we never see it, and instead we start to form this inverse cup and handle. You see that push out right here. However, once again, we could not form this handle right here to give that breakout and continue moving higher. Now, once we reached this area right here, as I'm explaining, we needed to see this inverse head and shoulder right there and continue pushing out, possibly to the high of day to fill that cup. Or if you were looking to short it, be watching for this liquidity right here off this shoulder. And you can also see this inverse cup right here down to this 528.20 level. And from there, you see how we form this handle. And there is this head and shoulder, right? You see another inverse cup to that 558.20, and there is that handle once again, and there is this trade. So looking at this right here, you can also see what it looks like on the 30-minute, and I was explaining to be watching for this head and shoulder. So you can see this right here, you see that, and then here is this nested head and shoulder right there for that move down. Now we did complete the cup to this 557.37 level. However, once again, right, we lacked this handle. There was never another push down. So like I'm explaining at that 557.37 level right here, we never saw this handle to head back down. You never see an inverse cup close, right? Another handle right here, and we continue pushing lower. Instead, we start to form this inverse head and shoulder, as we are still within this blue controlled selling right here and are tapering throughout the day. So you see this inverse head and shoulder starting to form right here. You see that cup and this handle, and we once again fill the cup here at this level again. Now, from here, I explained going into the end of the day, the last structures that you want to be watching are if we form this inverse head and shoulder right here, and we want to continue pushing higher, maybe a cup and a handle, right, to see this breakout, or we can look for this inverse cup to close right here, but we did not really do that very well, and we were just chopping with this possible handle. If you look here on 30-minute, right, we're possibly forming this cup and handle, but we ran out of time to see if we are going to push higher and fill this cup back to this 560.77 level. And we also never got to see this white breakout right here. If we are going to break down, right, we're looking for this inverse cup to close, and we want to be back below that 557.37 level. And from there, look, you can see how we're possibly trying to close this larger inverse cup. Several levels that we can do this at on the way down right here for a handle, right, if we do decide to dump. I'll explain this in a minute with this 5-day moving average. So it was a very choppy day. We didn't really do too much, just stayed within this range right here. But even within this range, there still were trades you could have taken like we've been going over. However, you have to be protecting those positions, taking decisive profits, right? If you're scalping, just because it heads down right here does not mean it's about to just continue, right? Take some profits, protect your position. If you see this handle, you see this inverse cup close and continue heading down, well, then you can continue building onto the position. Otherwise, you have to be protecting these, right? You see these head and shoulders right here. It closes this inverse cup. We lack this handle right here. There is no more continuation. And same thing to the upside, right? You see this cup close. If you took this on the way up, you got to be taking some profits right here, protecting that position. Now, if this handle starts to form right here and we continue pushing higher, great, but you have to be ready. So now going over what to be watching tomorrow, you can see right here that we are still within this blue and yellow controlled selling right here. So if we do form this inverse head and shoulder, we close this cup right here, build a handle, well then absolutely we can continue pushing higher as this upper Bollinger Band is still a target, but there's also another target, and this is that 5-day moving average I said I was going to explain. So if we do want to head down, right, and this is forming a top right here, be looking for this inverse cup to close right at this 557.35 level, and from there once again another level here, and then ultimately if we want to close this inverse cup to this 5-day moving average, and from there you will either want to see us starting to reverse, right, and something like that, or we start to form a handle and we get a move below the 5-day moving average, right? So that is just something that you have to pay attention to because we do have liquidity on the way down here, as you can see. If we do want to grab this, well, we absolutely can close this inverse cup right here as well. The telling factor in order for that to happen, though, will be this 5-day moving average, so do not get a bias and just understand what is going on here. If you look on the daily chart, right, we are going to test this 5-day on the way up as it trends up with this upper Bollinger. So if you see this starting to trend up with the upper Bollinger, we get a retest, and from there we can begin this uptrend. You can see we are still trying to close this cup to this level as well, which coincides with the upper Bollinger. So you can see how we trade when we are between the 5-day and the Bollinger, the upper Bollinger, right? So just pay attention and understand how this works. You cannot be looking to short this to the downside long term or anything until we have lost this 5-day moving average. And then if you are still worried about shorts from down here, well, you have to be looking for this 20. If we're not back below that 20, well, then there is no reason to be looking for the downside quite yet. So just elaborating a bit more, if we do remain between the upper Bollinger and 5-day before Friday with Powell speaking, well, that is fine, but you must understand this 5-day and upper Bollinger, we very well could see a move up into Friday and then a dump from there, or vice versa. We see some more downside tomorrow and then we find, right, some support at that 5-day, and from there we are able to head back up. So just understand that and also understand the bigger picture here, right? We still do have this level. And if we are trying to close this cup, right, we went to this level right here today. As I've been explaining, there have been several levels you can see on the way up. So if we hold this level right here, well, like I'm saying, pay attention to this inverse head and shoulder with the blue and yellow controlled selling. You can see that it has brought us up this entire way. So there is no reason to try and go against it. If it continues, it continues. If the structure changes and we want to head down, well, then that is fine as well. But you must see it happen first. Do not trade just because you feel something or you just can't believe that it's continuing to pump. Wait for it to actually form something, please. But that will wrap up the video. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see members in the morning.